Hello everyone. Good morning to all of you. So we are a little bit late, but we are going to start now. So in today's class, we will see the specifications of the microprocessor 8085 and 8086. We have two kind of microprocessors that we need to study in this subject. That is microprocessor 8085 and 8086. Okay, so 8085 is actually a 8-bit processor and 8086 is a 16-bit processor. Okay, so we will see the main thing in the question that are being asked in NTNet from this topic is इसमें जो क्वेश्चंस आते हैं वो मेनली प्रोसेसर की स्पेसिफिकेशंस और पिन डायग्राम पर आएंगे. ओके, स्पेसिफिकेशन ऑफ द प्रोसेसर, फॉर एग्जांपल हाउ मेनी बिट प्रोसेसर इज दिस एंड द प्रोग्रामिंग. ओके, एंड पिन डायग्राम. सो प्रोग्रामिंग मीन्स यू शुड बी अवेयर ऑफ द इंस्ट्रक्शन सेट आर्किटेक्चर. आपको हर एक इंस्ट्रक्शन का मतलब पता होना चाहिए कि लेट अस से इन 8085 वी हैव सम इंस्ट्रक्शंस, इन 8086 वी हैव सम इंस्ट्रक्शंस. ओके, यू शुड बी अवेयर ऑफ द what every instruction means. Okay, so we have these two processors and we will see quickly these two processors, right? So we have a processor. We have seen that this diagram we have already seen that we have three components of a computer system, that is CPU, main memory and input output devices. Okay, and all these input output devices, memory and CPU, are connected to a common bus that is called a system bus. Okay, system bus is the combination of three kind of bus, that is data bus, control bus and address bus, right? You will see that address bus is a unidirectional bus. Okay, address bus is a unidirectional bus. That means address will travel from CPU to memory. Okay, it will travel from CPU to memory or CPU to input output devices. Okay, every input output device will also have a unique address, because every input output device will be connected to the input output port and every port will be having a unique address. So CPU may execute some instruction on input output devices. So CPU may fetch something from input output device, or may want to write something onto the input output devices, or it can fetch something from the memory, right? But memory cannot fetch anything from the CPU, right? That's why it is a unidirectional bus. Data bus is a bidirectional bus. So that is the architecture of a computer system. In this particular subject, we will talk about only this thing, that is CPU. Okay, we will talk about only CPU. CPU or microprocessor or processor simply are the same things. Okay, CPU or microprocessor or processor are the same thing. We are referring to CPU. In CPU we have three things, that is control unit, arithmetic logical unit and some registers, right? So register part is also important in case of this subject, because in this subject we will study every single part, specification of every processor, right? So before starting the subject microprocessor, let us understand a few things that you already aware of. For example, what is the meaning of bit? Okay, bit is a single binary digit. It can be 0 or it can be 1. When we talk about word refers to the size of the data bus. Okay, you can say the size of the data bus. For example, if you have a 8-bit microprocessor, then the word size in that processor will be 8-bit. If you have a 16-bit microprocessor, then the word size in that processor will be 16-bit. Okay, so the size of the word is not fixed, it is depending on the kind of microprocessor. If it is a 32-bit microprocessor, the word size will be 32 bits. Then what is the bus? A bus is nothing but a group of wires, or you can say a group of lines that carry similar information. Similar information means if it is an address bus, then it will carry only address, right? If it is a data bus, then it will carry only data in the wires. If it is a control bus, then it will carry only control signals, right? Then we have a system bus. System bus is the combination of three groups, that is address bus, data bus and control bus. Okay, and it is connected between CPU and memory and peripherals. Input output devices are also called as peripherals. Okay, then we have memory word. The number of bits that can be stored in a register or memory element is called as memory word. Then we have a address bus. Okay, address bus is used to carry the address between CPU, memory and CPU and input output devices, right? So address bus depends on the size of the memory, or you can say size of the memory depends on the kind of address bus. If you have a 8-bit if you have a 16-bit address bus, This means that you have a 2 to the power 16 memory. Okay, so remember, the architecture of microprocessor does not have any effect on the address bus. That means the size of the memory does not depend on the architecture of the microprocessor. If a microprocessor is of 8-bit microprocessor, you cannot say that memory will be of 2 to the power 8 bytes, or you cannot say that address bus will be of 8 bits. So address bus is completely different from all the other things, right? So if that means the size of the memory will depend on the address bus. If the address bus is of 16-bit, then the size of the memory will be, that means if the address bus is can carry, then let's say the width of the address bus is 16, that means there are 16 wires in the address bus, then it can carry 16-bit. That means the size of the memory will be 2 to the power 16 bytes, because one address can so we can generate 2 to the power 16 unique addresses from the 16-bit, right? And each unique address can be given to 1 byte. That means we can have 2 to the power 16 bytes if we have an address of 16 bits. Then we have a data bus. The data bus is used to transfer the data between memory and processor, or between IO devices and processor. For example, 8-bit processor will generally have a 8-bit data bus, and 16-bit processor will have a 16-bit data bus. Then control bus is used to carry the control signal. Control signal, right, like read signal, write signal. Okay, for example, if you have a control signal read, you have a control signal write. Okay, you have a control signal hold, or HLDA. All these are called as control signals. Okay, some of the control signals may be active low, some of them can be active high. For example, the control signals which is having a bar above them, that is called as active low signal. Okay, and the signals which does not have a bar, that is called as active high signal. Active high and active low means that this line, or you can say this control signal, will be enabled when the value is 0. Okay, when the value is 0. So if we have if we have low voltage onto that line, that means that signal will be enabled. So it will be enabled on 0. That means active on low. Okay, active on low. Low means 0, high means 1, and they will be disabled on 1. Okay, 1 means disabled. In case of active high signals, 1 means enable and 0 means disable, right? So that is the difference between, that is the difference between active low and active high signal, right? So whenever you have a bar in above any signal, that is called as active low signal, right? And normal is simply active high signal. So any control signal can be high or it can be low, that depending on the requirement. If you want to read, you will send 0 from the control line. If you want to write, you will send the 1, right? So classification of microprocessor can be done on the basis of architecture and their specification. If you divide the microprocessor on the basis of their size of the data bus, then we can have 4-bit, 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit microprocessor. For example, nowadays most of the microprocessors are 32 and 64-bit microprocessors. Okay, nowadays we have 32-bit microprocessor and 64-bit microprocessor. For example, the microprocessor you are using in your computer system, like Core i3, Core i5, Core i7 or Core i9, that all these are 64 microbit processors. So 8-bit microprocessor is your 8085 microprocessor, and 16-bit microprocessor is your 8086 microprocessor. Okay, so these are the examples of microprocessors. We can categorize the microprocessors on the basis of their size of the data bus. Okay, you can say size of the word. Then we can divide the microprocessors. We can categorize the microprocessor on the basis of their architecture. For example, RISC or CISC, reduced instruction set architecture, or complex instruction set architecture. So they differ. The difference between these two architecture is they differ on the basis of number of addressing modes, number of registers available, what kind of control unit is used. On the basis of all these things, these two are divided into RISC and CISC. Right. Let us talk about 8085 microprocessor. First we will see the specification. When we say 8085 microprocessor, in this 8085 microprocessor, this 80 means that this microprocessor came in 1980s. Okay, this microprocessor was developed in 1980s. This 8 means that it is a 8-bit microprocessor. Okay, this is a 8-bit microprocessor, and this 5 represent that it uses a clock of 5 volt. Okay, it requires 5 volt supply to operate. Okay, it requires 5 volt supply to operate. So 8085 microprocessor is a 8-bit microprocessor available as a 40 pin IC package. That means there will be 40 pins in the pin diagram. In the pin diagram of 8085 microprocessor, you will see there are 40 pins, and it uses plus 5 volt of supply. It can run at a maximum frequency of 3 MHz. So remember, the frequency of the microprocessor is 3 MHz. This kind of question may come. So in the last year they have asked a question, what is the meaning of this 5 in 8085? Okay, the 5 means plus 5 volt. So it uses the frequency of 3 MHz. Its data bus width is 8-bit because it is an 8-bit microprocessor. So data bus will be of 8-bit. That means the word size will be 8-bit, and address bus width is 16-bit. So we have address bus of 16-bit and data bus of 8-bit. That means word size is 8-bit, or you can say 1 byte, and the size of the memory will be 2 to the power 16 bytes. Okay, size of the memory will be 2 to the power 16 bytes, or you can say 64 kilobytes. Okay, because 16-bit, if you have a 16-bit address with 16-bit, what you can do is you can have a 16 to 2 to the power 16 decoder. Like this, you can have 16 to 2 to the power 16 decoder, and each of the 2 to the power 16 line can be connected to one memory location. Okay, each of the output lines can be connected to one memory location. So total you can have 2 to the power 16 memory locations, and each location will be of 1 byte because the size of the data bus is, or you can say size of the word is 8-bit. So one location will be of 8-bit. You will have total 2 to the power 16 locations, right? So the size of the memory will be 2 to the power 16 into 8 bits, or you can say 2 to the power 16 bytes because 8-bit means 1 byte, or you can say 64 kilobytes. Okay, so size of the memory in 8085 microprocessor is 64 kilobytes. This is the internal architecture of the microprocessor 8085. So as I told you, in the microprocessor we have three things, that is registers, then we have control unit, and then we have a ALU. Okay, along with that we have some control signals that is generated by control unit, that will be inside the control unit. So let us see what we have in this microprocessor. So first let us talk about the registers. So we have total, you can say we have total 8 registers in this. Okay, out of those 8 registers, we have B, C, D, E, H, L registers. Okay, B, C, D, E, H, L registers. 6 are the registers. Then you have a stack pointer, then you have a program counter, and you have a temporary register. So this temporary register is actually your it can be used to store the data temporarily. So total there are 6 registers, main 6 registers, and then we have one more register. Out of these 6 registers, these 6 registers are actually your data registers. In these registers you will store the data, and these are the address registers because these are the 16-bit registers. We can store the address here. We know that data in 8085 microprocessor is of 8-bit and the address is of 16-bit, right? So address registers are actually 16-bit and data registers are of 8 bits, right? If you want to store the 16-bit address, you require a 16-bit address. So we have stack pointer and program counter. We know that program counter is used to store the address of the next instruction, so it is the address register. In every processor you have two kind of register, that is data register and address register. Data registers are used to store the data and address registers are used to keep the address, right? And all these registers are connected to address buffer and data buffer. Okay, for example, we have MAR and MDR. You can call them, address buffer is nothing but MAR, memory address register, and data register is nothing but MBR. Okay, so all the data registers are connected to data address, data bus, and all the address registers are connected to address bus. Then we have an accumulator, okay, which is directly connected to arithmetic logical unit. That means any input from the system bus will come into the, so this is your internal bus. Okay, this is nothing but your 8-bit internal bus. I told you that internal components of a microprocessor are connected to internal bus. Internal bus is connected with control unit, ALU, and registers, right? So we have a 8-bit internal bus with which this accumulator is connected, and then accumulator is directly connected to arithmetical logical unit. So ALU will take the input from accumulator and the temporary register. In the temporary register, data will be available either from memory or it will come from the registers. Okay, so whatever, let us say if you want to perform the addition operation, then the first operand will come from the accumulator and second operand will come from the temporary register. Then the value will be added and the result will be returned back to the result will be sent to the internal bus, and from the internal bus the result can be read by any register. Right, you will see that ALU is also connected to flag register. Okay, we have a flag register. In this flag register we have 5 flags. Okay, we have a flag register. In this flag register we have 5 flags. Right, for example, we have a carry flag, we have a auxiliary carry flag, we have a parity flag, we have a sign flag, and we have a zero flag. Okay, overflow flag is not there in 8085 microprocessor. Only these flags are available in 8085 microprocessor. So all these flags are of 1 bit flag. They can be 0 or 1. Okay, each flag can have 0 or 1, or you can say each flag can be set or reset. That's why this register is of 5 bits. Right, then we have timing and control. So PIL stack pointer is used to point to the stack. So in memory you will have a stack. In memory you will have a stack like this. Stack pointer will point to the stack, the top address of the stack. For example, let us say in stack we have data like this, A, B, C, D, E. So stack pointer will be pointing to the top location in the stack. Okay, you can say top of the stack. Right, you have studied in data structure, top of the stack is pointing to the last location in the stack. So stack pointer is a address, stack pointer is a pointer, that means it will keep an address of the last location in the stack register. Right. So we have an interrupt control. Interrupt control will be connected with the, so we have some in the 8085 microprocessor we have 1 2 3 4 5 interrupts. Okay, in 8085 microprocessor we have 5 interrupts, that is INTR, RST 5.5, RST 6.5, RST 7.5, and trap. Okay, these are the kind of interrupts in the CPU in the 8085 microprocessor. And then we have an interrupt acknowledgement line. So CPU will acknowledge the interrupts from this line. Okay, whenever CPU will receive any interrupt from these lines, CPU will acknowledge the interrupt from this line. Okay, then we have serial on input output control. So if you have serial devices, they will be connected to this serial IO control. Okay, there we can have a serial devices like serial input device and serial output device. Like the line printer is a serial input device. Okay, or you can say like a line screen, that is also your serial device. Okay, then you have a instruction register. I told you that the instruction will also be of 8 bits. So instruction register will be of 8 bit, right, because the size of the instruction will be 1 word, and 1 word in this microprocessor is equals to 8 bit. So instruction register is 8 bit also. I told you what is the meaning of instruction register, right? In the instruction register you will keep the instructions. Okay, so instruction register is of 8 bit, which is directly connected to a decoder. We know that after fetching the instruction, we will fetch the instruction with the help of program counter, and we will bring the instruction into the instruction register. Then instruction register will be connected to the decoder. Then instruction will be decoded. After fetching the instruction will be decoded by the decoder, and then appropriate control signals will be generated by the control unit. Okay, this is your control unit which is generating the control signals, and control unit is connected to a clock, that is X1 and X2 are the clocks. Okay, then we have a clock out. Then we have a ready signal, read signal, write signal, address latch enable, S0, S1 they will tell you the status, IO and memory, hold and HLDA, these are used for DMA. Okay, hold signal and HLDA signal are used for the DMA. Then reset in, reset out. If let us say any device want to reset CPU, then so if let us say any device want to reset CPU, then they will send the reset signal. And let us say CPU want to reset anyone, then it will send the reset out. Let us say CPU want to reset any output device, then CPU will send the signal from this particular line to that output device. If any device want to reset CPU, then they will send the signal from this line, that is reset in. Right, so read write are the normal control signals. Address latch enable we will study in the pin diagram. S0, S1 and IO and memory, these three control signals will be used together to differentiate between the input of instructions and memory instructions. Right, HLDA and hold are the control signals for DMA. Ready will tell, so any input output device will tell the CPU through the ready signal that we are ready. So then we have a 16-bit address bus and we have 8-bit data bus. Okay, they are connected to directly register file, because the data will be transferred to register file from the MAR and MBR. So this is your internal architecture of 8085 microprocessor. Everything is clear in this. Okay, in this we have accumulator, temporary register, ALU. Then we have some 6 8-bit registers. These are really important registers. We have B, C, D, E, H, L, right? And they can be used by combining these. Okay, we can use BC as one register by combining these two registers. That means we can perform the operation on register pair also. Let us say you want to perform the data on 16 bits. Okay, if you want to perform data on 16 bits, then you will combine two registers and you will call it register pair BC. Okay, like this you can combine DE, you can combine HL. Okay, so if you want to perform or you want to load 16-bit data, then you can combine the two registers, right? So 8085 microprocessor includes 6 registers, 1 accumulator and 1 flag register. Okay, in addition to two 16-bit registers, that is stack pointer and program counter. So we have six registers which are 8-bit data registers, and 1 accumulator and 1 flag register that is also having 5 flags. Then we have 2 address registers, that is stack pointer and program counter. The 8085 has 6 general purpose registers to store 8-bit data. Those are identified as B, C, D, E, H, L. They can be combined as register pair also, like B, C, D, E, H, L, to perform some 16-bit operation. Okay, so this is the register file of 8085 microprocessor. Okay, this is the register file. All the registers are shown here. We have accumulator of 8-bit. Okay, the register A is called as accumulator. So whenever you find register A in any programming, that is called as accumulator. Okay, we have a flag register in which we have 5 flags, that is auxiliary carry flag, parity flag, sign flag and 0 flag. Then we have 6 general purpose registers, that is B, C, D, E, H, L. Then we have stack pointer and program counter. Okay, this register file is connected to the data bus and the address bus. Okay, address bus is a 16-bit bus and data bus is of 8-bit bus. Accumulator is the 8-bit register that is part of ALU. This register is used to store 8-bit data and perform the arithmetic and logical operations. The result of an operation is stored in the accumulator. The accumulator is also identified as register A. Okay, so accumulator is nothing but it is like this. Let us say you have a ALU and you want to perform any arithmetic or logical operation. Then one value will come from the accumulator. Okay, we have accumulator, and one value will be loaded from memory to this temporary register. Then operation will be performed and finally the result will be stored in the accumulator itself. Okay, result will be stored in the accumulator itself. So accumulator is like a intermediate register for ALU. Whatever operation you will perform on the data, that result of that operation will be stored in the accumulator. Okay, then we have a flag register, and it is really important to understand what is the position of each flag. For example, the position, so we have a 8-bit register, right? This is a 8-bit register. This is bit number 0. This is bit number 7. So the sign flag is having the bit number 7. 0 flag will be on the bit number 6, and the auxiliary carry flag will be on the bit number 4. Parity flag will be on the bit number 2, and carry flag will be on the bit number 0. Right, so for example, if I have these bits like this 1 1, so this is do not care. Okay, this is don't care. You can say it is not used. This particular bit is not used, so we can take some values here. This is not used. Okay, let us say this is also not used, and this is 0. This means that, okay, if you have a flag register like this, if you have the flag register like this, from this you can say that sign flag is 1. Okay, sign flag is set, 0 flag is set, auxiliary carry flag is reset, and then parity flag is set and carry flag is reset. Okay, so you should really remember what is the position of every flag in the status register, because in the status register you have 8 bits. Status register is a 8-bit register, right? It is a 8-bit register. So out of the 8 bits we have used only 5 bits. We have used only 5 bits out of the 8 bits because we have only 5 registers. And the position of these bits is D0, D2, D4, D6 and D7. Okay, you can remember it like this. Even number bits are used. Okay, even number bits are used, D0, D2, D4, D6, and in the last you have used D7. Okay, like this you can remember this. Then program counter, this is a 16-bit register that deals with the sequencing of the execution of the instruction. That means in what sequence the instructions will be executed, that will be dependent on the program counter value. Wherever program counter will point, CPU will fetch the instruction only from that location. Okay, that means program counter will keep pointing to the instructions and CPU will keep fetching the instructions. Okay, so CPU will follow the program counter. Okay, CPU will follow program counter only. Wherever program counter will point, CPU will fetch the instruction only from that location. That means execution of the program will depend on the program counter value. If the program counter is jumping from one location to another location, then it will be a transfer of control instructions. And if the program counter is pointing sequentially, then it is a sequential flow program, right? So program counter always point to the next location. The stack pointer is also a 16-bit register, that is an address register used as a memory pointer. It's point to a memory location in read-write memory called stack. Okay, in the main memory we have a stack, we have some space for this stack, and the beginning of the stack is defined by loading the 16-bit address into the stack pointer. That means in memory from where stack is starting, that location will be loaded into the stack pointer. Okay. Then we have instruction register and instruction decoder. It is a instruction register is a 8-bit register. That means the instruction will be of 8 bits in this. Okay, instruction register is a 8-bit register that will keep the address, that will keep the instruction. Okay, for example, if you have a load instruction, so this will be as 8-bit, that will be a 8-bit register that will be connected to the decoder. Okay, decoder will decode the instruction and we'll find out what kind of instruction it is. It is a data transfer instruction or data manipulation instruction, or it is a transfer of control instruction. The instruction register is directly connected to instruction decoder. After fetching the instruction, you will decode the instruction. Okay, so it will decode the instruction and then pass to the next stage. Next stage is operand fetch. Then we have a control bus. Control bus are various lines which have specific functions for coordinating and controlling the microprocessor operations. For example, we have a control signal that is called as ALE. Okay, address latch enable. ALE means address latch enable. It is a pulse that is provided when an address appears on the AD0 to AD7 line, after which it becomes 0. Okay, you will see that the address and data lines in the pin diagram are actually multiplex lines. Multiplex line means that total we have in the microprocessor, total we have only 20 lines. Okay, total we have in the microprocessor we have only 16 lines. In the microprocessor total we have 16 lines, and these lines will be used for data and address both. Okay, data and address both. So these are the multiplex lines. Multiplex lines means, for example, we have the lines from AD0 to AD7. Okay, all these are the address and data lines, and then we have AD. So we have A8 to A15. These are purely address lines. Why these are the purely address lines? Total we have 16 lines. Out of these 16 lines, 8 lines will be used for both, that is data and address, because we have 8-bit data bus. So these are called as address data bus, right? 8-bit will be used for address bus and data bus both. And these 8 lines will be used only for address. These are all purely for address, and these lines for address and data both. Okay, so at one time we can travel only address or data from these lines. From these lines either we can travel address or we can travel data. So what is traveling on the AD0 to AD7, that will be depending on the value of ALE. If ALE is enabled, that means on these lines AD0 to AD7 we are carrying the address. If ALE is equals to 0, that means from AD0 to AD7 we are carrying the data. Multiplex lines means that same line can be used for two purposes. For example, AD0 to AD7 can be used for address as well as data. So address latch enable is a very important control line that will decide what is traveling on the AD0 to AD7 line. So read is an active low output. The read signal indicate that data are being read from selected IO or memory device. Okay, so this signal will tell that CPU will tell from this signal that I want to read something from memory or input output device. Write means that CPU want to write something into input output device or memory. IO/memory output, it is a signal that distinguishes between the memory location and IO locations. Okay, for example, what CPU can do is, we know that, so in the computer architecture also we have studied all these techniques. So for example, let us say you have a microprocessor. Okay, you have a system like this. On the system we have a microprocessor connected, or you can say CPU connected. We have a memory and we have a input output device, right? So let us say we have some input output devices connected to this IO controller. Okay, let us say we have 8 input output devices. So we have 8 input output devices, so address of the input output devices will be 0000001, like it will be a 3-bit address. Okay, it will be a 3-bit address, right? And let us say memory is also having 8 locations. Okay, memory is also having 8 locations. This means that this address of the memory will be also of 3 bits. When CPU want to read or write something from memory or input output devices, CPU will generate a memory request. Memory request will contain two things. It will contain address of the location from which it want to perform the read operation or write operation, and the control signal, what it want to do, it want to read or it want to write, right? So this signal, this address will go to in memory also. Okay, this signal will go to memory also, and it will go to input output devices also, right? Because they are connected to the same system bus. They are connected to the same system bus. That's why the address and memory request will go to memory and input output devices also. So because of because of one address, these two will be enabled, right? Memory is also having a location 101, and CPU is also having an input output device that is at the location 101. So what will happen is memory will also be enabled and input output device will also be enabled. Both of them will try to send the data to CPU, and that will collide. And because of that collision, CPU will not be able to receive the data. Okay, that particular cycle of the memory will be wasted, right? So we have to tell clearly from where we want to read or from where we want to write. We want to read or write from CPU or from memory. We want to read or write from memory or input output device. Okay, we want to perform read or write operation from the memory or input output device. We have to differentiate very clearly. So one of the method is that we can differentiate the control signals. So one simple method is that we can connect the memory and input output devices separately with the CPU. We can have a separate bus for memory and CPU. We can have a separate bus for CPU and IO. That means if CPU want to read something from memory or want to write something to memory, then it will send a signal from this memory bus. If CPU want to read or write from IO, then it will send a signal from the IO bus. So we can keep the different buses for memory and input output devices, right? That technique is called as isolated IO. Okay, that technique is called as isolated IO. When we are simply when simply we are using the different kind of bus for memory and IO, right? Second technique is that what we can do is we can differentiate with the control signal. What we can do is we can say we have a memory read operation and we have a IO read operation. So if the control signal is memory read, that means we want to read from memory. Okay, if we have a control signal IO read, that means we want to read from the input output devices. So we can differentiate the control signals or we can differentiate the address. Okay, when we are differentiating the addresses, that technique is called as that is called as IO mapped IO. Okay, input output devices mapped IO. So last technique, if we are differentiating the address, that technique is called as memory mapped IO, right? So we have these three techniques of solving this problem. So this control signal, that is IO/memory, is used to differentiate whether you want to read or write from memory or you want to read or write from the CPU. So this is a, you can see this is a multipurpose line. Okay, we have IO/memory. That means if the signal is 1 from this line, then you want to read or write from the IO. If the signal is 0, then you want to perform read or write operation from the memory. Okay, so it is a multipurpose line, or you can say it is a dual pin. It is a dual pin. Dual pin means that with the single line we can do two operations. Okay, IO/memory. So you will see that IO is a active high signal. That means it will be activated on 1, and this signal will be deactivated on 1. Right, on 0 this will be deactivated and it will be activated. So to differentiate between IO and memory operations, we have IO/M1. Then we have S1 and S0. These are the status signal used to specify the type of the operation being performed. Okay, for example, by combining these three signals, IO/memory, S1 IO, S1 or SO, we can differentiate the signals. For example, we can have 4 kind of operation: IO read, IO write, memory read, memory write. Okay, by using these 4 combination, we can tell what we want to perform. We want to perform read operation on IO or read operation on write, right? So for example, S0, S1 can also be used like this. So if S1, S0 is 00, that means the microprocessor is in the halt state. Okay, if we have 01, this means that microprocessor is writing something. If we have 01, this means that microprocessor is writing something. If we have 02, this means that microprocessor is in the halt state. Okay, if we have 03, this means that microprocessor is in the halt state. Okay, if we have 04, this means that microprocessor is writing something. Okay, if we have 01, this means that microprocessor is writing something. If we have 1 0, that means microprocessor is reading something. If we have 1 1, this means that microprocessor is fetching something from the memory. Okay, these will tell the status of the microprocessor. Okay, these two bits are called as status bits, and they will tell the status of the microprocessor. Okay, so this is the pin diagram of the microprocessor 8085. In this pin diagram we have 40 pins. Okay, so out of these 40 pins, let us see what we have. So for example, AD02, okay, AD02, A15, these lines are called as address and data lines. Okay, these are called as address and data lines, and these are called as purely address lines. So from A8 to A15, these are only address lines. That means these are the single pins, and these are the multiplexed pins. Multiplex pins means that we can carry two kind of information from this bus. We can carry address also, we can carry data also, but at one time we can carry only one signal, either address or data. And what we are carrying onto these particular lines from AD0 to AD7, that will depend on this line. If ALE is equals to 1, okay, if ALE signal is high, this means that we are carrying the address from these lines. Okay, so if this is 1, that means all these lines will be used from AD0 to AD7 and A8 to A15. All these lines will be used because the address is of 16 bit, right? Because the address is of 16 bits, that means all 16 lines will be used from AD0 to AD15. AD0 to A15, all lines will be used because the address is of 16 bit, and the data in 8085 microprocessor is of 8 bits. That means when you are carrying the data, that means when ALE is equals to 0, then only these lines will be used, only these data lines will be used. Okay, VSS is your ground signal. Okay, you know that every microprocessor will be connected to a power supply, and in the power supply we have voltage and ground supply. So VSS is nothing but your ground supply. This will be connected to ground, and VCC will be connected to the 5-volt supply plus 5-volt supply, right? Then we have interrupts. So total we have 5 interrupts in 8085 microprocessor, that is INTR, RST 5.5, RST 6.5, RST 7.5 and trap. Okay, and out of these 5 interrupts, this trap is also called as RST 4.5. okay, this is also called as RST for 4.5. okay, so RST 4.5, 5.5, 6.5 and 7.5. All these interrupts are categorized as vectored interrupt and non-vectored interrupt. Okay, we will see the kind of interrupts. So we have software interrupts, hardware interrupts. Okay, we have a vector address. What is the meaning of maskable, non-maskable interrupt? What is the priority of the interrupts? We will see all these things in the interrupt chapter. Then we have a INTA line, and it is an acknowledgement line. Acknowledgement line means that if any device sends the interrupt from these lines, so if anyone want to interrupt the CPU, they will interrupt from these lines: trap 7.5, 6.5, 5.5 and INTR. Okay, these are the interrupt lines. And then CPU will acknowledge the interrupt from these lines. Okay, CPU will interrupt from this INTA line. Okay, it is like that. We have a room. In that room, let us say a class is going on, and in this room we have 6 doors. Okay, total we have 6 doors in this room. From the 5 doors, people can interrupt me, and from 1/6 room I will acknowledge them. I will ask them what you want. Okay, it is like this. Then we have serial input output lines. Then we have a reset line. X1, X2 are the clock line. Okay, clock is connected here. Every microprocessor will be connected to a clock, and my clock will generate the cycles. Okay, what is the rate of the cycle? That will depend on the frequency of the clock. If let us say the frequency of the clock in microprocessor 8085 is 3 megahertz. From here you can find out the clock cycle time of this 8085 microprocessor. Okay, hold and HLDA we have already studied in the previous class in a computer architecture. They are the DMA related lines. Okay, if DMA want to use data bus, DMA will send the hold signal to CPU, and if CPU want to assign the data bus to DMA, then CPU will acknowledge the hold signal from the HLDA. So we have a clock out, we have a reset in, ready, IO/memory, S1 read write signal. All these are the control signals. Okay, all these are the control signals. These are the address and data lines. These are the interrupt signals. Then we have clock and we have power supply. Oh, these are the main things in the pin diagram. So 8085 pin description, you can say the properties are, it is a 8-bit microprocessor, and the technology used to make this microprocessor is NMOS technology. And we have total 40 pins in 8085 microprocessor, and it has 16 address bus. Thus we have 2 to the power 16 memory, that is 64 kilobyte of memory. and it operates at 3 megahertz single phase clock, and we have 5 volt of power supply, right? So you can categorize all the pins of 8085 microprocessor in these categories, that is address bus, data bus, control and status signal, power supply and frequency signal, externally initiated signals, and serial input output signals. For example, these are the address bus, okay, AD0 to AD15, AD0 to AD15 are the, AD7 is data bus and address bus, and A8 to A15 is the address bus. Then we have externally initiated signal. Externally initiated signal means that external devices will initiate these signals. For example, external devices like input output devices can send the interrupts from the interrupt lines, right? These are called as externally initiated signal also. Then we have control signals like read, write, ALE, S0. Okay, these are the status signals: ready, S0, S1, okay, S0, S1, ready, reset, in. Okay, all these are the status signals of the CPU. Then we have control signals like read, write, ALE, HLDA, and hold. These are the control signals. Then we have power supply, that is VCC, and VSSS. VSS is ground supply, or you can say neutral, and VCC is 5 volt supply, right? Then we have clock, that is X1, X2 is the clock input, and this is clock output. Okay, then we have serial input output signals, that is SOD and SID, right? So total we can categorize the control signals like this. So we have discussed about all the kind of like add lines. I hope you understood the pin diagram. Any doubt till now? Everyone understood the pin diagram, right? Okay. Now let us see the instruction set of 8085 microprocessor. Okay, so Mona ready signal is nothing but ready signal will tell that CPU is ready to execute new instruction. Okay, these are the status signals. I told you that we have 4 status signals. Okay, we have 4 status signal like S0, S1. Okay, we have ready, we have HLDA. All these are called as status and control signals. This signal will tell that CPU is ready to receive a next instruction. CPU is ready to execute a new instruction. Halt means that CPU has completed the execution. S0, S1 can have 4 values: 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, and every value is having a unique result. Okay, unique meaning. For example, this means halt, this means write, this means read, and this means fetch. Now let us see the kind of instruction in 8085 microprocessor. The instruction can be categorized in 3 categories mainly. So we can have data transfer operations, like if you want to transfer the data from register to memory, or memory to register, or register to register, or memory to memory, right? Data transfer can be done from register to register, register to memory, memory to register, memory to memory. Then we have arithmetic operations like add, subtract, multiplication, division, and increment, decrement. All these are called as arithmetic operation. Then we have logical operation in 8085, that is AND, OR, XOR, NOT. All these are called as logical operations, right? So remember, in 8085 we do not have any shift or rotate instructions. Shift or rotate is not available in 8085. They are available only in 8086. Then we have some branching operation. So branching operation means those that will take that branching operation, or you can say transfer of control operations, can be conditional or unconditional. Okay, you can make a jump by checking a condition, or you can make a jump by without checking a condition. That is conditional and unconditional. Okay, then we have some machine control operations, like if you want to control CPU, let us say you have interrupt instructions or halt instruction. Okay, all these are called as machine control operations. So we will see all these kind of operations. So we can categorize the instruction in 8085 in 3 categories, that is 1 byte instruction, 2 byte instruction, and 3 byte instructions. Okay, 1 byte, 2 byte, and 3 byte instruction. For example, this particular instruction is a 1 byte instruction. Okay, these are the 1 byte instruction in which we have move AB and the hexadecimal code is 78. You do not need to take care of this. Okay, this is not that much important. This is simply you need to just see that we have only three kind of instruction, that is 1 byte, 2 byte and 3 byte instructions. Okay, there are 5 addressing modes supported by 8085 microprocessor. There are only 5 addressing modes. Okay, remember, in 8085 you do not have any base register, you do not have any index register. So that means base addressing mode, index addressing mode, displacement addressing mode, all these kind of addressing modes are not supported by the 8085 microprocessor. In 8085 microprocessor we have only very simple addressing mode, that is implicit or implied addressing mode. Okay, implicit or implied addressing mode, immediate addressing mode, register addressing mode, memory direct addressing mode, indirect addressing mode. Okay, you have only 5 kind of addressing modes in 8085 microprocessor. Any addressing mode which you want me to explain again? I think we have already discussed all these addressing modes. For example, immediate addressing mode means you want to move some immediate value. So you will find I, wherever you will find I, that is a immediate, that means that instruction is using the immediate addressing mode. Let us say MVI R0 20, that means you want to move immediate value 20 into the register R0, right? So the instruction will be like this: ADI R0 and 20. This means you want to add the value of register R0 and 20. This is the immediate value given. Memory direct addressing mode, you know that direct memory address will be given. Let us say we have the instruction like this: load 2000. Okay, that means you want to load something from the memory location 2000 into the accumulator. Remember, load and store instructions. Okay, load and store instruction will work only on the memory. Okay, load and store instruction will work on the memory. For example, if you want to say store 2000, this means that you want to store the value of accumulator into the memory location 2000. Okay, so this is a simply read operation and this is simply write operation. Okay, this is memory read operation, this is memory write operation. So these are the only addressing modes supported by 8085 microprocessor. A question may come into the exam. The question can be like this: which of the following addressing mode is not supported by 8085 microprocessor? So if any addressing mode is having index register or displacement register or add 0506, when you are saying add 0506, definitely it is not a immediate addressing mode. Okay, it is not a immediate addressing mode because you do not have I and you do not have any hash in front of values, right? So it is not a indirect addressing mode because in this we do not have a @ sign in front of addresses, right? So it is a absolute addressing mode. I will say this is a absolute addressing mode. Absolute means direct addressing mode. Absolute addressing mode or direct addressing mode. Okay, these are the same thing. So immediate addressing mode means in this addressing mode the operand is given in the instruction itself. Okay, operand is given in the instruction itself. For example, MVI A9A hexadecimal. This H means that this value is hexadecimal value. Okay, this H means that the value is hexadecimal value. So this instruction means that you want to move immediate value 9A into the register A. That means in the accumulator you want to move an immediate value 9A. 9A binary, you can say 1001 1010. This value will be moved to the register A. Okay, the operand is a part of the instruction. The operand is stored in the register mentioned in the instruction. Okay, so you can say MVI B 9A, that means you are storing the value 9A and that is a hexadecimal value into the register B, that is 1001 1010. So immediate addressing mode. Then we have memory direct addressing mode. In the memory direct addressing mode, the address directly will be given in the instruction. Okay, let us say we have LDA 850FH. Okay, this means that you have a memory. Okay, you have a memory. In this memory you have the location from 0000 to FFFF in the hexadecimal. Okay, this is a 16-bit address, right? This is a 16-bit address because this is hexadecimal values and one hexadecimal digit can be represented with 4-bit of binary. So 4 hexadecimal digit means 16-bit address. So this is a 16-bit address we have some address 850F in the memory. At this particular location we have some data, let us say some value 9A. Okay, this means that we want to load accumulator. LDA means load accumulator, the value stored at the location 850F in the memory. That means the value 9A will be loaded to the accumulator. So in the absolute addressing mode or direct addressing mode, you can say absolute addressing mode or direct addressing mode, the direct address of the operand will be given in the instruction. Register direct addressing mode means that the registers will be given in the instruction. For example, we are saying move BC, whatever value we have in the C, that will be moved to B. So when we are moving the value from B to C, for example, we have a value in C, in the register C we have some value 1010 1011. The content of the register C will not be modified. Okay, when you are saying move BC, that means you are moving the value from register C to register B. So when you are moving the value inside C will not be modified. That means it is a simple copy operation. Okay, move operation is nothing but copy operation in 8085 microprocessor. Indirect addressing mode means that the indirect address will be given in the instruction. For example, we have move AM. So here the data is in the memory location pointed by the content of HL pair. Okay, the data is moved from to the accumulator. So this means that if we have instruction like this, move AM, okay, this means that we have a register pair HL. I told you that we have B, C, D, E, HL registers, and HL register pair can be used together to keep a 16-bit data or 16-bit address. Let us say we have a 16-bit address here like this. This means that in the memory, okay, in memory we have address 1011. It can be written as 8 plus 2 plus 1, that is 11 B. Okay, this is B, and this is 8-bit. Okay, 10000, let us say 0001. So this is B8, the address is B8, so B0, and this is 61. Okay, this is the address. On this address we have some data. Okay, that means first you will go to the register pair HL. From that register pair you will pick up the address, and then you will go to that address into the memory, and then you will pick up the data. So this is register indirect addressing mode. Okay, register indirect addressing mode is supported by 8085 microprocessor. I hope you understood this. Move AL means that you will go to the location pointed by register pair HL. Okay, register pair HL is having some address, let us say FFF0. This is 16-bit register, that's why we need to have a register pair. Okay, each register is of 8 bits. That's why we have to make a pair of HL register to keep the 16-bit data. Then you will go to this address in the memory. On this address you will find the operand. So you will see this is a indirect addressing mode, right? Address of the operand is in the register. Then we have implicit addressing mode, implicit or implied addressing mode. In this, the operand is in the opcode itself. For example, you have CMA. CMA means complement accumulator. So operand is itself in the opcode, or you can say operation code. This is your opcode. In the opcode you have the accumulator, that is the operand. So you will go to the accumulator value, whatever value we have in the accumulator, let us say 1011 1101, and you will complement this value. This value will become like this. Okay, so now let us see the instruction set of 8085 microprocessor. This is the important part. If you want to solve the questions of programming in 8085, then you should really be aware of the kind of instructions we have in 8085 microprocessor. Okay, instruction set of 8085 microprocessor, that is really important. So let us see the instruction set of 8085 microprocessor. Any doubt till now you can ask. Okay, you can ask if you have any doubt till now. So everything is clear now? Till now everything is clear? Okay, so in 8085 microprocessor total we have 246 instructions. Okay, total we have 246 instructions. We will not study about all the instructions. We will see some of the important instructions of 8085. Okay, the set of instructions is called as instruction set. Okay, the set of the instruction is called as instruction set. So we have 8-bit binary value, we have the opcode field. Okay, in this we have 8-bit opcode field. So we have 8-bit opcode field. If we have the opcode field of 8-bit, you can see that we can have total 256 instructions, right? We can have total 256 operations. Out of the 256 operations, we have used only 246 operations, right? So we will see this instruction set. HL pair में कैसे store होगा? So in the HL pair, it will be stored like this. Meena, I told you that in 8085 we have 6 registers, right? So like this. Okay, like this we have 6 registers. This is register B, this is C, this is D, this is E, this is H, and this is L, right? So you will combine. So we know that each register is of 8-bit register, right? This is a 8-bit register, this is a 8-bit register. That means by combining these two registers, we can make a register of 16-bit. We can combine a register of 16 bits. So address will be stored in the form of, for example, if we have an address like this, okay, if we have a memory address FF06, okay, so higher address, let us say if we have FF06, this FF will be stored in H and 06 will be stored in L. Like this address will be stored. Okay, so the instruction can be classified into data transfer instruction, arithmetic instruction, logical, branching, and control instructions. Let us see the data transfer instruction first. Okay, data transfer instruction will copy the data from one location to another location. It can copy the data between registers or between memory or between registers. Okay, between memory and registers. They copy the data from source to destination. While copying the data, the content of the source are not modified. The content of the source register are not modified. So for example, the first instruction is move instruction. Okay, so we have to specify either destination register and source register, or destination register and memory and the source register. In this instruction we are moving the data from source register to destination register. In this we are moving the data from memory to RD register. In this we are moving the data from register to memory. Okay, from the source register to memory. That means you can specify either registers or register and memory, or memory and register. So this is simply register to register transfer. In this we are transferring the data from register to register. In this instruction we are transferring the data from register to memory, from memory to register. And in this you are transferring the data from register to memory. Okay, so move instruction can be used to transfer data from register to memory or memory to register. Then we have MVI. MVI means move immediate. If you want to move any immediate value to any register or any memory location, you will use MVI. For example, MVI-A, it is moving a 8-bit value into the register A. MVI M57H, M is some memory location, A is some register. Okay, so this means that you are moving the value 57 into the memory location pointed by M. Okay, memory location M. So if the operand is in the memory location, its location is specified by the content of the register pair HL. Okay, so then we have LXI. LXI means load register pair I, immediate. Okay, LXI means that wherever you will see X means register pair. Okay, wherever you will see X, that means register pair. So these are having some defined meanings. For example, X means register pair, you are operating on the register pair. I means immediate value. Okay, I means you are using the immediate addressing mode. And L means load. So this instruction becomes load register pair immediate. Okay, load register pair immediate, L X I. So in this what you will do is you will load a immediate value to the register pair specified with the instruction. For example, you are saying LXI-H. LXI-H means that this will load the 16-bit data. That is, this is a 16-bit data, right? 2034 is a 16-bit data, and the binary of 2034 will be 0010, 0000, 0011, and 4 means 0100. This is 16-bit data. This 16-bit data will be moved to the register HL pair. Okay, so we will specify only one register of the register pair. For example, if you are using BC, then you will specify only B. If you are using HL, then you will specify only H. If you are using DE, then you will specify only D. Okay, that means you are moving this data, this 16-bit data into the register pair HL. Okay, like this. 8-bit will be moved to the register H and 8-bit will be moved to the register L. Then we have LDA. LDA means load accumulator. Okay, load accumulator. In this we will specify some address. For example, some address will be specified here. For example, 2034. This means that whatever data we have on this address in the memory, that data will be loaded to the accumulator. Okay, I told you that load and store instruction will work on the memory. So if we have LDA 2034, this means that you have a memory. Okay, in that memory you have a location 2034. From this location you will pick the data and that data will be moved to the register accumulator. So a 16-bit address will be specified. 16-bit address will be specified with the instruction. Okay, LDAX means that load accumulator with the register pair. Load accumulator with the register pair. Okay, so you can specify register pair B or D here. Okay, BC or DE. Okay, HL register pair cannot be used here. For example, the operand can be either register pair BC or DE. Okay, so this is load accumulator indirect. Load accumulator indirect means that you have instruction LDAXB. Okay, LDAXB. Load indirect. Okay, load accumulator indirect. This means that we have a register pair BC. Okay, we have a register pair BC, and in this register pair BC we have some address, let us say FF01. In the memory, first we will go to the register pair BC. We will take the address from the register pair, 16-bit address, and then we will go to the memory on this address. We will take the data from that particular address and that data will be moved to the accumulator. So this is load indirect. Okay, this is load indirect. That means the address of the memory is in the register pair BC. Okay, the address of the memory location from where you want to load the data, that is in the BC. The content of the destination register pair point to a memory location. This instruction copies the content of that memory location into the accumulator. The content of either the register pair or the memory location are not altered. Then we have LHLD. Okay, LHLD means that load HL register direct. So in this address, in this instruction, we will have a direct address. Okay, you will go to this address and you will read two memory locations. Okay, because you are loading the register pair HL. Load H register pair HL with the direct address. LHLD. Load HL direct. Okay, this means that you have memory. In this memory you have location 2040 and you have 2041. Right. So what will happen is the instruction copies the content of the memory location pointed out by 16-bit address into the register L. It copies the content of the next memory location into the register H. Okay, so we have register pair HL like this. Okay, we have the register pair HL like this. What you will do is you will read the first location, that is 2040. In this location we have some data like this. This data will be copied to the register L. Okay, this data will be copied to register L. So 1011 0110. Then next location will be read. Let us say we have some 8-bit data on the next location. This data will be copied to the H register, that is 0110 1101. This means that this instruction will read two memory locations. Okay, this instruction will read two memory location. The first location will be 2040. The byte from this location will be copied to the register L. Then next byte 2041, the data from 2041 location will be copied to the register H. That because we are loading the 16-bit data. Okay, we are loading the 16-bit data. That means we are loading 2 bytes. We are loading 2 bytes. So first byte will be at the location 2040 and the next byte will be on 2041. Then we have STA. STA means store accumulator. Store accumulator means you will have an address specified here. You have a 16-bit address. This means that whatever we have in the accumulator, that will be stored in the memory location 250.00 into the memory. Okay, that means you are storing something from the accumulator to memory. Store accumulator direct. Then we have STAX, that means store accumulator indirect. Store accumulator indirect. Okay, so store accumulator indirect means that with this instruction, with this opcode, we will have a register pair BC. Okay, we have a register pair BC. We will go to the register pair BC. because we have x means that we will use the register pair, right? X means that we will use the register pair. This means that we have the register pair BC. In this register pair we have some memory address like this. Let us say we have some memory address FF0A in the hexadecimal. So you will go to the memory, okay, you will go to this register, okay, you will go to this register BC. From this register you will read the address, that is FF0A, right? And then whatever value we have in the accumulator, that will be stored at the location pointed by the register pair BC. Okay, memory location pointed by the register pair BC. So you will go to the register pair BC. In this you will find the location FF0A. Then you will go to the location FF0A in the memory, and you will store the value of the accumulator into this. So this is simply store indirect. Okay, this is store indirect. And in the STA direct address will be given. Okay, in STA direct address will be given. That means it is using the direct addressing mode. In this, the name of the register pair will be given. You have to go to this register pair to get the address. This is indirect addressing mode. Then we have SHLD, that is store HL register pair direct. Just like we have LHLD, like that we have SHLD. So that instruction was LHLD, that means load HL register pair direct. Now we have store register pair direct. Okay, so in this some location is given 2550. What will happen is, in the HL register pair you have some value. Okay, in the register pair HL you have some value, let us say F0, FA. This is a 8-bit value, this is a 8-bit value. So you will go to the memory. Okay, in the memory address is given, that is 2550. You will go to the location 2550. Okay, the first byte will be stored from the L. Okay, you will go to L, and this byte will be stored at the first location in the memory. Then in the next location 2551, okay, F0 will be stored. Okay, that means lower address will store the lower byte and higher address will store the higher byte. This is called as higher byte, this is called as lower byte. Okay, this is your lower byte and this is your higher byte. So lower byte will be stored on the lower address and higher byte will be stored in the higher address. Then we have exchange instruction. Exchange means it will exchange the values of the register pair HL with DE. Okay, this means that you have a register pair HL. Okay, in this you have some value, let us say A0, A1, and you have a register pair DE. Okay, remember this can be done only on HL and DE. In this we have some value like this 2F, 2A, 1F, 2A. Exchange instruction will simply exchange the values of these register pairs. That means this value will be copied to H. That is, this value will become 1F, and this value will be copied to D. That is, this value will become A0. Then this value will be copied to L. That is, this will become 2A, and then this will be copied to E. That is, this will become A1. So the value of the HL and DE register pair will be exchanged. Okay, this is the exchange instruction. Then we have arithmetic instruction. All these instructions were those instructions were just data transfer instructions. These are really important instructions. Most of the जो आपके प्रोग्राम हैं, जो क्वेश्चंस आपके आए हुए हैं प्रोग्रामिंग के एंटीनेट में, वो सारे मोस्टली क्वेश्चन यहीं से हैं. मोस्टली क्वेश्चन जो है वो इन इंस्ट्रक्शंस पर हैं. LHLD, LDAX, LXI. ओके, LXI के बारे में डायरेक्टली पूछा गया है. व्हाट इज़ द मीनिंग ऑफ LXI? LXI, LHLD, STA, STAX, SHLD, all these questions are being asked from all these instructions. Okay, if you have any doubt on the data transfer instructions, you can ask. Otherwise, we will see the next category of instruction, that is addition, subtraction, increment and decrement. So multiplication and division are not supported by 8085 microprocessor. You can perform only addition, subtraction, increment and decrement. Okay, these are the arithmetic instructions. So addition simply will add to the values. Okay, it will simply add the values of two registers, and then finally the result will be stored in the accumulator. Okay, and and your flag register will also be affected by the addition. Okay, so this is saying that no two other 8-bit registers can be added directly. So we can add any 8-bit number to the content of the register, or the content of the memory location can be added to the accumulator. This means that you cannot perform the addition operation like this, add BC. Okay, you cannot perform addition operation like this. You can perform the addition operation with the accumulator only. Okay, you can perform the addition operation with the accumulator only. One operand will always be accumulator and second operand will be any register. It can be B, it can be C, it can be D, it can be E, it can be H, it can be L, it can be some memory location, right? So addition instruction will work with accumulator. Okay, so for example, you will have ADA. ADA means add accumulator and some register will be given. This means that you will add the value of accumulator and the register B and the result will be stored in the register A accumulator. Okay, A means accumulator register. Then we have the subtraction. Subtraction will also work like this, and subtraction in this will be performed with using the 2's complement. Okay, if the result is negative, after subtraction, the result will be stored in the form of 2's complement form. Okay, for example, if you are performing 2 minus 5, the answer will be minus 3. This minus 3 will be stored by using the 2's complement representation. Okay, so negative numbers are represented using 2's complement in the computer system. So the same condition is here. We cannot subtract two registers directly. We cannot perform the operation like this, subtract BC. Okay, we will use only one register in the instruction, and one register by default will be the accumulator register. That means these are the accumulator machine. We have seen the three kind of machine, that is stack machine, accumulator machine, and general register machine, right? So these are the accumulator organization, accumulator CPU organization, in which one operand will always be in the accumulator and second operand we can specify in the register or in the memory location. Then we have increment decrement. This will increment or decrement the value of the 16-bit register or 8-bit register. Okay, you can increment the value of 8-bit register or 16-bit register. Okay, increment decrement can be performed on any register and memory location. So for example, first instruction is add. Okay, with add instruction you will specify only one operand. Okay, either it will be a register name or it will be a memory location. Add B means that you are adding the value of the accumulator with the register B. By default, one of the operand will be accumulator only. You are adding the value of accumulator register with B, and the result will be stored finally in the accumulator. Okay, and all flags are modified to reflect the result of the addition. All flags means carry flag, auxiliary carry flag, sign flag, parity, zero flag. All flags will be modified due to the arithmetic instruction addition. Okay, so remember, arithmetic instructions will modify all the flags. So the result is always stored in the accumulator. Then we have ADC. ADC means add with carry. Add with carry means that you will perform the addition. Okay, ADC, let us say some register is specified here. You will add the value of accumulator, okay, with register given in the instruction, that is B, and then you will add the value of carry flag also. Carry flag can be either 0 or it can be 1. So you will add the value of carry flag also. Let us say in the carry flag you have 1, in the accumulator register you have 0 0 0 0 1 0 0 0. In the register B you have, let us say, 1 0 0 0 1 0 0 0. Then what will happen is, if you say ADC B, okay, in this case first you will add the value of accumulator with the register B, okay, like this, 1 0 0 0 1 0 0 0. So this will become 0 0 0 0 1 0 0 1. Then you will add the carry flag also. This will become 1 0 0 1 0 0 0 1. So finally in the accumulator this result will be stored. ADC means that add register or memory location to accumulator with carry. Okay, with carry. ADI means that you are adding the immediate value. Okay, you are given an immediate value. Wherever you will see I, this means immediate. Okay, so add immediate 45. This means that we have an accumulator flag. Okay, with the accumulator we will add the value of accumulator register with the immediate value. Okay, immediate value will be given in the instruction itself, that is 45. Okay, these two values will be added and you will get the result in A. Right, so remember, direct value will be given. The constant value will be directly given in the instruction itself. In the immediate instruction, the immediate value will be given, and all flags will be modified to reflect the result of the addition. ACI means add immediate to carry with add immediate to accumulator with carry. Okay, ACI means that an immediate value will be given. Okay, you have a carry flag. Let us say carry flag is 1. So what will happen is, you have some accumulator value. Let us say in the accumulator you have the value 1 0 0 1 0 0 1 0. So this instruction ACI 45, this will simply add the value 45 to the accumulator and will add the value of a carry flag also. So 45 means that 0 1 0 0, 5 means that 0 1 0 1. Then you will add the value of accumulator, that is 1 0 0 1 0 0 1 0. Okay, so this will become 1 1 1 0 1 0 1 1. Then you will add the value of carry flag, that is 1. Okay, so 1 plus 1 0, 1 plus 1 0, 1 plus 1 0 1. So 1 0 1 1. Final value will be this in the accumulator. So you will add with carry immediate. Add with carry immediate. Okay, DAD. DAD will work on the register pair. Okay, so with DAD instruction, you will specify some register pair, let us say BC register pair, add register pair HL. Okay, that means by default one operand will be HL register. Okay, by default one register will be HL, and the result will also be stored in the HL register pair. So you are loading the value, you are let us say if you have DAD-B. Okay, this question has been asked in the internet 2016 two times. If you have DAD-B, this means that you are adding the value of the register pair HL with the register pair specified in this, that is BC. Okay, if you have DAD-D, that means you are adding the value of register pair HL with the register pair DE. Okay, if you have DADH, that means that you are adding the value of register pair HL with register pair HL. Okay, so DAD instruction will work on the register pairs. So in this we are adding the 16-bit values, because register pair will have the 16-bit values. In this we are adding the 16-bit values, and carry flag will also be affected. Then we have subtract register, just like we had the addition registers, addition instructions, that like that we have subtraction instructions. Subtract with borrow, like we have add with carry, it is इसी तरह से आपके पास में subtract with borrow है. Then we have subtract immediate. Okay, then we have subtract with borrow immediate. Just like we have ACI, that is add with carry immediate, we have SBI, that is subtract with borrow immediate. Then we have INR, that means increment. Okay, you can increment the value of a register or register pair or the memory location. If you have INX means that increment register pair given here, let us say BC. So INX means that increment the register pair BC. So wherever you will have X, that means register pair. Okay, INX register pair. So let us say INXH, this means that you are incrementing the register pair HL by 1. Okay, final value will be stored in the HL only. Then decrement will also work like this, in decrement simple register or memory, or decrement register pair. Then we have logical instructions like AND, OR, XOR, rotate, compare and complement. So these are the operations in 8085. As I said that in 8085 microprocessor you do not have shift instructions. Okay, shift is not there in the 8085 microprocessor. So AND or XOR operation you already know, right? What is the AND operation, what is OR, what is XOR, you already know. Rotate operation. So we have each bit in the accumulator can be shifted to either left or right. So rotate instructions are of 4 types. Okay, there are 4 types of rotate instruction, that is rotate left. Okay, we have rotate with carry. Okay, we have rotate with carry and rotate without carry. Rotate without carry. Padam INRB means that increment B, simple. Increment B means that you have a register B. Okay, you have a register B in the 8085 microprocessor. In this we have some value. Okay, when you say INRB, the value of the register B will be incremented by 1. That means only 1 will be added to this. Okay, 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0, the value will become like this now. The register will become like this. This is the INRB, increment B. Okay, what is the difference between INRB and INXB? Okay, INXB now will work on the register pair because we have X here. That means now we will increment the register pair BC. Okay, register pair BC. You have a register pair BC in which you have the value 1 0, let us say 1 1 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0. You have this register pair BC. You are incrementing this value. So the value will be added here now. So the value will become finally BC will become now 1 0 1 1 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 1. Okay, this will become BC. If you have INXD, INXD means that you are incrementing the register pair DE. If you have INXH, that means you are incrementing the register pair HL. So rotate with carry can be, we can rotate to left, rotate with carry left, and rotate with carry right. Okay, we can rotate without carry left and without carry right. So there are 4 kind of rotate instruction: rotate with carry, rotate without carry, and in each category we have 2 kind of rotation, that is left right, left right. Okay, then we have compare instruction and complement instruction. Complement instruction means you are complementing the value. For example, you have complement R. CMP-R means that you have some register specified here, for example CMP-A. Okay, CMP-A will not be there, we have a CMA for that. So if we have CMP-B, this means that we have a register B in which we have some value like this. So when we are saying complement B, that means this value will be complemented and this value will become 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1. Okay, the content of the operand are compared with the content of the accumulator. Okay, this is not a complement instruction, this is a compare instruction. Sorry, I explained this wrong. So this is a compare instruction. The content of the operand, register or memory are compared with the content of the accumulator. Both contents are preserved. The result of the comparison is shown by setting the flag registers of the PSW as follows. For example, if A is less than register or memory, carry flag is set. If A is equal to register or memory, 0 flag is set. If A is greater than register or memory, the carry flag will be set. Carry and 0 flag will be set. So what is the meaning of comparison? When we talk about compare instruction is nothing but it is simply comparing the values of 2 registers. For example, by default one register will be the accumulator register. Let us say in the accumulator register you have some value like this. Okay, in the register B you have some value like this, 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0. Okay, what compare instruction will do is when you say CMPB, this means compare accumulator with the B. Okay, compare accumulator and B. There are 3 cases: either A will be greater than B, or A will be equal to B, or A will be less than B. Okay, there will be 3 cases, and these 3 cases will be specified with the help of registers. Okay, with the help of your flags. What we will do is compare instruction will internally call the subtract instruction. Okay, we'll call the subtract instruction. What we will do is we will subtract register A with register B. Okay, after subtraction you will get some values. For example, if after subtraction we are getting 0. Okay, if we are getting 0 after subtraction, the 0 flag will be set, right? 0 flag will be set if the result is 0, right? After subtracting, these 2 values will be 0. So if the 0 flag is set, this means that these 2 values are equal. Okay, if 0 flag is set, okay, if this 0 flag is set, that means these 2 values are same, right? Just imagine A is greater than B. Let us take a value which is in which we have A greater than B. So if we have A greater than B, let us say the value is something like this. Okay, in this we have the value 4 5 0 1 0 0 0 1 0 1. In this we have, let us say, 2 3. Let us say 3 2. Okay, so this is the value. Now if you are subtracting AB, after subtracting AB you will get the value 0 1 0 0 0 1 0 1. This is A, and the B is 0 0 1 1 0 0 1 0. Okay, you will subtract, you will get 1 minus 0 is 1, 1 0 minus, so 0 minus 1 we cannot do, we have to take a borrow. So we will take a borrow from here. We will get 1 0 minus 1, 1 0 minus 1 is 1, right? 0 minus 0 is 0, 0 minus 0 is 0. So 0 minus 1 we cannot subtract, we have to take a borrow. So borrow will travel from him like this. So 1 0 minus 1 is 1, right? 1 minus 1 is 0, 0 minus 0 is 0, 0 minus 0 is 0. So you will get how much? 1 3. Okay, this is your 4 5, 4 5 minus 3 2. So you will get, so this is 0 0 1 1 3, and this is 2 3 2. Okay, so 45, this is 45, and this is 3 2. You will get how much? You will get 1 3. Okay, so this is 1 3. This is 1 in binary decimal, and this is 3 in hexadecimal, right? So we are getting the right value. So here you will see that 0 flag is actually reset. Neither 0 flag is set nor carry flag is set. Okay, carry flag is also not set. So if zero flag is also reset and carry flag is also reset, that means the A is greater than B, right? If carry flag is set, that means A is less than B. Okay, you will see this case when we have the value of accumulator that is less than B. Okay, let us take some value. Let us say A is 23 and B is 45. Okay, 23 means that 0011 0010 and 23 means that 0011. 45 means that 0100, 5 means 0101. Okay, when you will subtract these two values, you will get the answer 1 minus 1 0, 1 minus 0 is 1. 0 minus 1 we cannot subtract, so we will take a borrow. 1 0 minus 1 will be 1, 1 minus 0 will be 1, 1 minus 0 will be 1, 0 minus 0 will be 0. We cannot subtract 0 minus 1, so we will take a borrow. Now that means carry flag will be set. Okay, carry flag will be set. So this will become 1 0 minus 1 is 1, 1 minus 0 is 1. So this will be the value. You will see that carry flag is set because we have taken a borrow. We will take a borrow, that means carry flag will be set. So in this case you will see that A is less than B. So comparison instruction is nothing but the subtraction operation. Okay, you will perform the subtraction operation between the two values and you will get your answer. So like that, if A is less than the register or memory which we are specifying, if A is less than B, then carry flag is set. Okay, if A is equals to register or memory, zero flag is set. If A is greater than register or memory, carry and zero flag are reset. Okay, carry flag is equals to 0, zero flag equals to 0. In this, zero flag will be equals to 1. In this, carry flag will be equals to 1, as I have explained in the previous example. So we can compare the value of the accumulator either with the register or with the memory. Okay, we can compare the value of the register of the accumulator either with any register or any memory location. Okay, so then we have CPI, that means compare immediate. Okay, compare immediate means that in the CPI some direct value will be given. Okay, some direct value will be given. For example, let us say 45 hexadecimal value. This means that you have to compare the value of accumulator with the direct value given in the instruction, that is 45. Okay, immediate value 45. Let us say in the register A you have the value 23 and the value given in the instruction is 45. We can see clearly 23 is less than 45, right? So this you can see this by, you can tell this by looking at this, right? Because you have a mind, you have the eyes, but computer does not have a mind or eyes. Computer have a CPU and ALU. What computer will do is, how computer will come to find out. Okay, how computer will find out whether A is less than B. What computer will do is, computer will subtract 23, okay, from the with the 45, like this, and after subtraction it will get the value of the zero flag and the carry flag. On the basis of zero flag and carry flag, it will decide which value is greater. For example, 1 minus 1 is 0, 1 minus 0 is 1, 0 minus 1 is, so we have to take a carry. 1 0 minus 1 is 1, 1 1 0. We have to take a carry from here, so this will travel like this. So 1 minus 0 is 1 and 1. You will get this answer. So zero flag will be reset and carry flag will be set. So if carry flag is set, we know that A is less than B, right? So internally compare instruction will call the subtraction operation, right? Then we have AND operation, AND with accumulator. Okay, and accumulator with some register or some memory location. AND immediate accumulator. Okay, we will given an immediate value, we have to perform the AND operation of accumulator and the immediate value. Then XOR operation of the accumulator with the some register. XRA means XOR accumulator with some register or some memory location. So in case of AND operation, okay, in case of AND operation, carry flag is reset and accumulator flag is set. Okay, sign flag, zero flag and parity flag are modified to reflect the result of the operation, right? So all the flags are affected by arithmetic and logical instructions. Sign, zero and parity flags are modified to reflect the result, and carry flag is reset, accumulator auxiliary carry flag is set. So XOR operation, or immediate, XOR accumulator, XOR immediate. Okay, then we have rotate left with carry, rotate accumulator to left. RLC means that rotate accumulator to left, so with carry. Okay, so bit D7 is placed in the position of D0 as well as in the carry flag. Okay, bit D7 is placed in the position of D0 as well as in the carry flag. Carry flag is modified according to bit D7, and then SZ, P and AC are not affected. All these flags are not affected, only carry flag is affected. from this logical operation RLC, only carry flag will be affected. So this is nothing but rotate with carry. Okay, this is rotate with carry left. Okay, so this instruction will be like this. You have a 8-bit data. You have a 8-bit data like this. Okay, let us say this is some register in which you have some 8-bit data like this. And then we have a carry flag. In the carry flag we have some value. What will happen is rotate with carry means that, rotate with carry left means that all the values will travel to left. All the bits will be shifted to their left like this. And this last bit will be shifted to carry flag, and the carry flag value will be shifted back to the D0 position. Okay, this is called as D0 position, and this is called as D7 position. Okay, so I have a doubt here. Actually in the question it is written here that D0 is placed in the carry flag as well as in the D7 placed. D7 is placed in the position of D0 as well as the carry flag. This is what, according to definition, it is saying that we have 8-bit D7, D6, D5, D4, D3, D2, D1, D0. We have these positions of the bits D0. This is bit number D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, D6, D7. Okay, when we are rotating with carry to left, this is, let us say, carry flag in which we have some value 1, in which we have some value like this. Okay, this is saying that the D7 is placed in the carry flag as well as in the D0 position. That means actually carry flag will not go into the D0 position. This particular value, D7 value, will go into the 0th position. Okay, it is saying like this. So these are the two different diagrams. What we have seen in 8086 microprocessor is like this. In 8086 microprocessor we have seen values like this. Let us say we have a 8-bit microprocessor. We have the 8-bit value and we have a carry flag. Rotate with carry left means that all the bits will be shifted to right left by one position. Then the D7 position will go into the carry flag and the carry flag value will go into the D0 position. Right, these two diagrams are different. So we will solve the question and we will see which one is correct. Okay, you need to verify this. I will also verify this. Then we have rotate with carry right. So rotate with carry right means that we have the 8 values. We have 8 bits like this. This is D0, D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, D6 and D7. We have a carry flag in the right. Okay, we have some values here. Rotate with carry right means that all the bits will be shifted to right position, right by one position to right. Okay, this bit will go to the carry flag and this bit will also go to the bit number D7. Okay, this is rotate with carry right. Okay, then we have RAL, that is means rotate accumulator left through carry. So now this is bit D7 is placed in the carry flag and the carry flag is placed in the least significant bit. This is something important. This is interesting. Rotate accumulator left and rotate accumulator right. This is rotate accumulator left through carry and rotate accumulator right through carry. So in this we are using the accumulator value only. So in this we are using the accumulator register. So difference between these two instructions is that, so in this also we are rotating with left, rotating with right into the accumulator. In this also we are rotating accumulator with left and right. But in this the diagram will be like this. Okay, now see this. This is really important. So the diagram will be like this, which I was confused about. Now in this diagram will be like this, which we have seen. So this is D0, D1, D2, bit number D3, bit number D4, D5, D6 and D7. Okay, so RRC means RAR means that when we say RAR, rotate accumulator to right. Okay, this means that we have a carry flag in which we have some value. Okay, these registers are having some value and this carry flag is having some value. Now all the bits will be shifted to right. Same thing will happen as previous, but now this bit will be shifted to carry flag and this carry flag will be shifted back to the D7. Okay, this is the difference between the previous instruction and this instruction. Have you understood the difference between these two instructions? Okay, in case of rotate RAL, that is rotate accumulator with left to carry, the values will be like this: 1 0 1 0 0 1 1 0. Now all the values will be shifted to left like this. Okay, all the values will be shifted to left. Then this value will go to the carry flag, and the carry flag will go to the D0 position. I hope you are understanding the diagram of this instruction, that is RRC, RLC and RAL and RAR. Okay, these four are the different instructions: RAL, RAR, okay, RLC and RRC. These are different instructions. Understood? We have four kind of rotate instructions. Then we have a logical instruction, that is compare instruction, compare accumulate, complement accumulator. CMA means complement accumulator. No flags will be affected because we are simply complementing the accumulator. Then CMC means that complement carry. Okay, CMC means complement carry. STC means set carry. We have a carry flag, we will simply set the value of carry flag to 1. Then we have branching instruction like jump instruction. Jump with some register. Okay, with X we can specify any register. For example, jump if 0 flag, jump if not 0, jump if carry, jump if not carry. Okay, jump if parity flag, jump if not parity flag. Okay, not parity means that you will jump if the parity flag is 0. In this case you will jump if the parity flag is 1. Right, so we have the branching instruction that can be conditional or unconditional. For example, all these instructions are conditional. Okay, we have to jump conditionally. Conditionally, why? We are saying that jump to some register, jump to some location 2034, but before jumping check the condition of the 0 flag. This means that jump if 0. This means jump if 0. Jump if 0 means that if 0 flag is set, okay, if 0 flag is set, that means if the value of 0 flag is 1, then only you will jump. That means you will jump the conditionally. You will jump conditionally, right? So we have different jump instruction. We have jump with carry. This means that if carry flag is set, you will jump. Jump if not carry, that means the carry flag is not set, then you will jump. Jump if parity flag is set, that jump if positive, that means if the sign flag is 0, that means positive, then you will jump. Jump if minus, that means if the value is minus. If the sign flag is 1, that means the value is minus. Jump if 0, the 0 flag is set. Jump if not 0, if the 0 flag is reset. Jump if parity flag is parity is even. Jump if parity is odd. Odd parity will be there when the parity flag is 0, and parity 1 will be there if the parity flag is 1. That means in the result, if you have number of ones are even, then the parity flag will be set. Anyone in the class who want me to explain the registers, because it is really important. Lots of questions are being asked on the registers. If you want me to explain the registers, please tell me. Okay, that is really important. Then we have call instruction. Call can be conditional or unconditional. For example, this is unconditional call. Okay, this is unconditional call. You are not actually using any condition here. You are simply calling the function from the location 2034. You are not checking any condition. Then we can have call unconditional. Call conditionally. We have the register like this: CZ. Okay, CZ, this means that call only if 0 flag is set. Okay, if 0 flag is set, then call. Then call the function from the location 2034. So call can be conditional as well as unconditional. Okay, call can be conditional or unconditional. Conditional call means that call if carry, call if not carry, call if positive, call if minus, call if 0, call if not 0, call if parity is even, call if parity is odd. So these are the conditional calls. Unconditional means that simply with the call instruction you will specify the address where you want to jump. Okay, so in this you will not specify any conditional flag. Okay, you do not need to specify any conditional flag if you are calling unconditionally. Then we have branching instruction like return. You can return conditionally or unconditionally. Return means that you are returning from a function. You are returning from a function to the main routine, right? So return can be conditional as well as unconditional. If you are saying simply return, so it will simply return. Okay, it will return to the return address, and return address will be found on the stack, right? So return can be conditional and unconditional. Then we have RST 0 to 7. These are called as software interrupts. Okay, RST instruction are nothing but jump instruction. We have software interrupts. So we have two kind of interrupts in 8085 microprocessor, where we have software interrupt, that is RST 0 to RST 7, that is RST 0, RST 1 to RST 7. And all of the software interrupts in the 8085 microprocessor are the vectored interrupt. Why we are calling them vectored interrupt? Okay, they are called as vectored interrupt because in this we have a vector address. Okay, we have a vector address given. That means the address of the interrupt service routine for these interrupts can be obtained from the vector address. Okay, we have the 0 given here. This is the vector number. We can multiply the vector number with the data bus width. Data bus is of 8-bit. We will multiply this and we will get the jump address. Jump address will be 0 here. Okay, for example, RST1, the jump address will be 1. For RST2, jump address will be 16, and 16 in hexadecimal will be it will be how much? 16 in hexadecimal will be, so you can do like this. If you want to convert any decimal value into the hexadecimal, you will divide this by the base value. So 16 1 is 16 and 0, that means 10. Okay, so the jump address will be 10, that in hexadecimal is A. Okay, decimal 16 means hexadecimal A. So 3 into 8 means 24, and 24 in hexadecimal will be 18. Okay, so 18, that will be the jump address for this particular interrupt, that is RST7. For RST7, the jump address will be the vector number multiplied by the width of the data bus, that is 56. Now this value is in the decimal value. This is the decimal value. You have to convert this into the hexadecimal. You will get 63 is 48. So you will get 38 hexadecimal value. That means jump address will be 38. So when you say RST3, RST3 is nothing but jump to the location jump address. Okay, jump address for RST3 is, what is the jump address? That is 18. Okay, this means that you are jumping to the location 18. So every vector interrupt will be having a vector address, and that you can obtain from the vector number. Okay, directly from the vector number. When the vector number is given in any interrupt, that is called as vectored interrupt. For example, in 8085 microprocessor, you have 5 hardware interrupts. Okay, for example, RST 4.5, that is also called as trap. Then you have RST for 5.5. Okay, then you have RST 6.5, RST 7.5, and then we have INTR, right? Total we have 5 hardware interrupts in the 8085 microprocessor, and out of these 5 hardware interrupts, we have these are the 4 hardware interrupts which are actually vectored interrupt. Okay, these are the vectored, and this is the non-vector interrupt, because we are given the vector address. Okay, we are given the vector number with the vectors. That's why it is called as vectored interrupt. You can directly obtain the vector address. Okay, you can directly obtain the vector address, or you can say interrupt service routine base address. Okay, base address of the interrupt service routine in the memory. Okay, so for example, for RST 4.5, the jump address will be 4.5 into 8, that is 36.0 in decimal. When you will convert this in hexadecimal, you will get 24 hexadecimal, right? So jump address for RST 4.5 will be 24. Like this, you can find out the restart address or jump address for any of the hardware interrupts. Okay, for example, for RST0, hexadecimal address is 0000. For RST1, 8. For RST2, 10, that is 10. RST3, 18. RST4, 20. You can check this randomly. You can verify this randomly. For example, RST4 means the vector address will be 4 into 8, that is 32. Convert this into the hexadecimal, you will get 20, right? So 20 is the vector address. 283038, like this the vector address can directly be obtained from the vector number. That means we know that whenever any interrupt will come to the CPU, okay, when any interrupt will come from to the CPU, either from the softwares or from the hardwares, we have the hardware pins for the hardware interrupts, for example RST 4.5, 5.5, 6.1, 7.5. If any interrupt come from the vectored interrupt, we know that we have the fixed address. Okay, CPU will jump to a fixed address. For example, if let us say interrupt comes from the RST 4.5, if interrupt comes from the RST 4.5 line in the microprocessor, then microprocessor will jump to a fixed location, and that fixed location is 24 hexadecimal. Okay, that is 0024 hexadecimal to be precise. That means the address is fixed. Okay, the jump address is fixed in case of a vectored interrupt. In case of non-vectored interrupt, we have to obtain the address from the input output device. Okay, input out whatever interrupt line, whatever input output device had interrupted the CPU, that input output device or that particular device or clock will supply the vector address for that particular interrupt. That means the vector address is dynamically obtained. Okay, in case of vectored interrupt, we have the static address, that is a fixed address. For example, for all these interrupts, these are the fixed address of the memory location. But in case of non-vectored interrupt like INTR is the only non-vectored interrupt in 8085. For this particular non-vectored interrupt, the vector address will be obtained from the input output device. Okay, whatever device is interrupting the CPU from this line, that input output device or that particular device will supply the vector address to the CPU. Then CPU will jump to that address. We will study about the vectors. We will study about the interrupts in this 8085 microprocessor very soon. So then we have some control instruction that are not that much important. We have NOP. NOP means no operation. If we execute this instruction, that means CPU will not do anything. CPU will not perform any operation. NOP means CPU will not perform any operation. Halt means that the CPU will halt and CPU will not execute any instruction until we have the next instruction. DI means direction flag. This is the disable interrupt. If you want to disable an interrupt, it is enable interrupt. RIM, read interrupt mask. So SIM means set interrupt mask. These are the instruction set of the 8085 microprocessor, right? So we have completed everything in the 8085 microprocessor. Only thing left, so we have discussed about the specification of the 8085 microprocessor. Okay, we have talked about the pin diagram of the 8085 microprocessor. Then we have studied the addressing mode of the 8085 microprocessor. Then we have studied all the kind of instructions of the 8085 microprocessor, that is instruction set we have studied. Now one thing left in 8085 microprocessor is interrupt. I have already told you, but we will see one more time. Okay, I will tell interrupt one more time in the next lecture. Now we will study about the 8086 microprocessor in the next class of the microprocessor. So in the next class I will finish 8086 quickly, and then all these things I will talk about the 8086. In the 8086 also we will study all these things, and then we will start solving the previous year questions of 8085 and 8086 microprocessor. Okay, very beautiful subject it is. 8085 and 8086 is really a beautiful subject, right? So this is all from my side for today, and tomorrow we will continue with the 8086 microprocessor at the same time. Okay, time will be 8 AM. I will try to not be late. Today I am late in the class, so tomorrow I will try to be on the time. Okay. So any doubt, anyone? If you have any doubt, you can ask. Thank you everyone. Thank you for waking up so early. इतनी सुबह उठने के लिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. और क्लास अटेंड करने के लिए. आई एम रियली सैड अबाउट दोज हु कुड नॉट अटेंड द क्लास. Okay, they can watch the recordings, but I think most of the students have attended the class. Okay, so have a good day. Let's meet in the evening. I will share the PPT. In the evening, we will start data structures, and Kapil sir will start data structures today from 9 p.m.